Right, welcome back to the Sunderland View, and this fixture does not need any introduction. It is the Tyne-Wear Derby. It is the first time these two sides have met in nearly 8 years. Sunderland, Newcastle. Welcome, Jack, and welcome as a guest on the Sunderland View this week to Magpie Jacob. How are you, Jacob?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me on there. Looking forward to talking everything about the Tyne-Wear
let's talk to Jack first. Good Christmas, Jack. First of all, personally, before we talk about the football.
Yeah, it was lovely. Yeah, had a nice time. Thanks, mate.
Good, good, good. All right, mixed results in the football then. Michael Beale's come in, and not a great start, but then some good results. And you've just come back from Rotherham. Just talk us briefly through how they've done.
Yeah, it was strange one because they managed to ruin Christmas a couple of days early with the Coventry result. Plotted back at Hull. I didn't. Obviously, I didn't expect anything from that going there, but we managed to come away with a result, which is a big win for me. A team like Hull are a good side, but then same old with Sunderland, 10 against the big teams, but then you play bottom of the league Rotherham and you can't get 3 points. It's strange way to go about it, but yeah, it really is the same problems that we're talking about every week.
And without Jack Clark's goals, there would be even more of a worry, wouldn't it?
I feel like without Jack Clark's goals, that game last night would have been a basement battle, and we'd be down there with them. I mean, you had Ahmad last season, but at least other players were contributing. I've never seen such an over reliance on one player as we have on Clark this season. Without his goals, God knows what we'll be talking about.
Did you get till February the 1st with him still in your team, shall we? All right, let's talk about this big one then. Just as a Sunderland fan, what does this fixture mean to you?
For me, I mean, I'm sure Jacob will agree with me. It's easily one of the biggest derbies in the country, if not the biggest. The passion is like it's unmatched. I mean, I know they're not. It's not a two-team city. We are two separate cities, but the hatred and the rivalry we have with each other is massive. It's quite simple. You know, we played each other a lot back and forth in the Premier League. We're matched on wins. We both won the same amount of derbies. There's just always so much rest on it, and so much more so that it's in a competition like the FA Cup. We haven't played each other in 7 years. It's huge. I cannot. But there's too many superlatives. I can't say how big it is.
Have you changed your views on it since the draw was made? Because I remember I was talking to you when those balls came out and Newcastle was drawn, and you were dreading it, thinking, "Oh no!" But since that time, Newcastle aren't in great form, and yourselves seem to have sorted a few things out. Are you a little bit more confident than you were 5 weeks ago?
Um, I mean, we haven't got a great deal better. We're getting there, but Newcastle have really dropped the keg since we drew them, like especially Kieran Trippier. Um, yeah, so a little bit more confident. Like to every result that we get and then they get, you feel like maybe could we just like get a moment and get something. It's like as the game goes on, I'm more nervous, but you just feel like with the crowd behind us, it's a sellout. We could get something, but yeah, they're definitely the favourites. There's no doubt about that. But yeah, there's a little tiny bit of confidence in me.
Okay, right. Let's cross over then to the black and white black and white city. Jacob, what does this mean as a fixture to you guys there in Newcastle?
Oh, I mean, obviously Jack's hit the nail on the head. Really, you know, it's a huge derby in terms of. I'd put it up there with Celtic and Rangers. It's always a feisty affair. You know, there's so much passion there. There's so much hatred. In terms of the footballing side, I mean, obviously there's a lot of hatred in football quite often, but you know, you can tell in the stadium beforehand. You know, going there, there's a different level of a hatred or build up to the game as well. It's always so there's that sick feeling in your stomach that you get, which you just but it's even bigger. It's just one of those things which is like it's all or nothing. You know, it's kind of if you lose, it's hide away, don't want to come out. You know, I work with quite a few Mackems. Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but no, I get on really well with them. But you know, if we don't win, don't want to go to work because I know exactly what I'm going to get, the stick I'm going to get, which I know I would give them if we win. So it's you know it's a very mutual feeling, and it should be. It's always a you know good affair, but going to be nerve-wracking, and I can't wait for it, to be honest. I'm just ready for it to happen.
Let's talk about your current form then, because are we right in saying that Newcastle, haven't been pulling up any roses recently? What's going on? Injuries aside, is it just injuries, or is there something tactically that Eddie Howe's not getting right?
Don't get me wrong. I think obviously injuries are a part of it, but every team has injuries. I think, again, obviously fixture congestion is something that you could look at, but if you want to compete at the highest levels, you have to be able to have a squad that can deal with that fixture congestion. I think maybe Eddie Howe's made a few questionable decisions, but I think the biggest thing that got us through last year was our intensity and our ability to press so relentlessly for the whole game. And I think you can just see that we're not at that, and the players are struggling to do that, and it's leaving a lot of space in the midfield, and we're getting caught on the counter-attack a lot. And I think I think that's the biggest thing. I think we've not got our intensity and our press, and we just, maybe the levels of the players, as much as they did so well last season, I think obviously we overperformed last season. So I feel like now you're seeing, with the team being so stretched, you may be seeing the levels a little bit, without that sort of ability to constantly press. You're seeing maybe more levels, and we are struggling a bit at the minute. And it is probably the first time since obviously the takeover, this is the worst one we've had. So obviously it's not ideal going into a derby. Obviously it's been a long time, but going into this derby on the back of sort of the struggle that we're having. So that again obviously makes the game even more interesting, because you kind of, maybe a few weeks back, maybe 4 weeks back, when the draw came out, I can't remember exactly when it was, but I was pretty confident, to be honest with you. I was having the banter with people at work about, this is going to be comfortable. This should be, I'm really confident it's going to be easy. And now the more and more closer we get, obviously we've out of 2 competitions, we've had quite a few losses, and you're like, have I spoke too soon? Have I been too confident? And so yeah, it's not going in the best of forms, but I do think form kind of goes out of the window when it comes to a derby. I think it's just, it's about handling the pressure on the day and who can rise to the occasion the best, to be honest with you.
Okay, thanks for that. Let's talk about the teams then. We'll start with Newcastle. It's always difficult to judge what sort of team will be put out in an FA Cup game. Where do you think this ranks with sort of Eddie Howe's priorities, the FA Cup? Obviously, this game he's going to want to put a strong squad out. The fans will never forgive him if he doesn't. But where does it sit alongside? Obviously you want to go back into Champions League. Well outside that at the moment. But is it important, this cup?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as you've mentioned, obviously we're in the Carabao Cup quarter-final. Obviously we got knocked out. We're in the Champions League, and unfortunately, obviously we didn't make it through the group. So if you'd have asked me that while we're in those 2 competitions, yes, it's still a very important game. But I would have said that, being in a quarter-final of the Carabao Cup, you're closer and you've got more of a chance of silverware. Obviously, the Champions League is ultimately one of the biggest competitions in the world in terms of club football. So, now we're out of those 2 competitions. This is huge. It's even bigger than it probably would have been, in terms of the fact of, it's another chance to get closer, get further along in a cup competition. Hopefully, obviously everyone knows, as a Newcastle United fan, obviously the biggest thing that comes back to us is we won nothing. And obviously, they're right. As much as I'd love to say they're wrong, they're right. So, anytime you can get further on in a cup competition is always important. But obviously against your biggest rivals, after not playing them for 6-7 years, it's everything. It's such a big game, and something that I think could be a catalyst going forward in terms of the rest of our season as well. I think we need some confidence. I think the players are a little bit low on confidence at the moment, and a win against your biggest rivals would just be such a boost for them, I think, and definitely help us kind of, along with the January transfer window, really attack the second half of the season. So it's massive game.
All right, well, I'll have a look at the Sunderland team in a second then. Let's have a look at the Newcastle team that started the game against Man City in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup. I suppose this is the closest we could come to in terms of looking at who we might start. Now, obviously, you've had, I think, half this team are out injured this time. But who does he start? Talk us through what you would do with the starting lineup at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I mean, in goal it'll be Dubravka. I think obviously as much as he's maybe struggled a little bit since he's come in, I don't think it's solely on him. I think the defence hasn't been as good, but I think it'll be Dubravka in goal. I think obviously I know Sunderland fans have been very happy to jump on Trippier because he has obviously been poor recently. Obviously a few silly errors and has cost us quite a bit, but I think given his experience in the game and the level that he's played at, I think he will put Trippier at right back. Now I hope, that you will play. I think you'll play Livramento at left back. I think Dan Burn, fantastic serving for us last season. He just come back from an injury. He's just looking a little bit leggy, and I think he maybe just needs to be taken out of the side and have to fight for his place again. So I think there sort of be the two fullbacks, and I think centre back wise, I do think you will go strong. So I do think it'll definitely be Botman at left centre back, and I think Lascelles is currently out, but apparently the injury is not serious. So given the fact we've got Man City away after the derby, you may well see Lascelles in there rather than Shaw. That's one I'm not sure on, to be honest with you. I think if Lascelles is fit, you'll go with Lascelles. If not, I think it will be Shaw. It sort of finishes up the back four. In terms of, obviously on this page, we've got Tonali, who we all know he's not going to be playing for obvious reasons. Lewis Miley, I would absolutely love to see him play. And I do obviously think he's a very young lad, but he's shown that he's very capable in the games that he's played. But with it being, it would potentially be his first derby, I think you might see sort of probably a Bruno, where obviously Tonali is at the moment, but Bruno would be in there. I think you'll see Longstaff, and then I think you'll see Joe Linton will be the midfield three, I think. I think he might just, if Miley does play, I think he might come off the bench. I don't think you'll start him, just because I don't know why. I've just got a feeling that he might think if it went wrong for him in a game of that magnitude, if he didn't have a good game, I think it could be really, like, he's progressing really well, and I don't think we want to do too much to set that back. So I think, maybe putting Longstaff in, who's been obviously a bit more experienced, obviously a local lad, so he understands the importance of the derby. I think you'll see Longstaff, Bruno, and Joelinton as the middle three. In terms of because I think it'll be a 4-3-3. That seems to be like the formation he goes for. There is some tweaks in game, but ultimately that's what he sort of likes to start with. I think the front three, I think you'll see Almiron. Works very hard, obviously. Probably does lack a little bit of quality, unfortunately, in terms of he's very one-footed and isn't really the best in front of the goal. But in terms of work ethic and wanting someone to have, well, obviously, in terms of, I'm pretty sure Jack Clark will probably be playing on that side. In which case, having someone who's going to work back and double up on Jack Clark, because if I'm being honest, he's probably the biggest threat, and he's probably the one player who out of the Sunderland side that I'm probably a bit worried about and think he can hurt us. So I think you'll have Almiron there. Isaac or Wilson. I think you'll probably go Wilson up top, to be honest with you, because he likes to kind of rotate where he can between Isaac and Wilson. With neither of them are probably, Isaac's had his injury issues, and I think everyone knows Callum Wilson, much as a fantastic striker, he can't stay. He's always injured at some point in the season. So I think you'll probably see Wilson come in. I think you'll play Isaac for this weekend against Liverpool, and I think you'll see Wilson up top, and then I think finally it'll probably be Anthony Gordon. Just obviously you'll know him well, maybe have different feelings towards him, but ultimately for us this season he has been good. I think he's been nursing a knock a little bit recently and hasn't necessarily looked as sharp as he has, but he's a dangerous player. He's definitely someone I think Howe will go with, to run at them and cause issues for the Sunderland defence. So that's what I think will be the lineup.
All right, let's look at Sunderland then. Cheers, Jake, for now. So, Jack, the game against Rotherham started with these with this setup. Where do you think changes will be made, and if so, who?
Well, there's not going to be too much change in the back four, back five, including the keeper. Obviously, Patterson 100% was starting. Ballard will. 09, I think we could see him shifted out if Elise is fit. But I'm not sure he'll drop him. He's been quite reliable this season, made a few mistakes, but he's still been a decent centre half for us. I think we could see Try Hume stay at left back, although he started at right back, but with Huggins' injury, he's just sort of stayed there. So I think we could see Hume stay at left back. We don't really have much cover in that area. We could see potentially Elise into left back, Hume back to right back. So that would be interesting. I think Neil and Equa's nailed on as our midfield too. They're the best we have to offer there. And Roberts did go off injured last night, so we'll have to see if he's fit. If he's not, it'll be Abdullah Bar in Roberts' position. Clark, obviously, on the left. Job, I imagine, will either be in the 10 or up front. But if Job is in the 10, I mean, take your pick who's going up front. It could be a centre half. The way Michael Hale's going.
Put you on there, Jack. You might get a game soon.
I know, yeah, I might have to take my boots, but it could be Rusin, could be literally anyone at this point. No one seems to trust a striker at the start of the game. So God knows. But I think we could start Pritchard as well, so we'll see.
All right. You mentioned it earlier. I couldn't believe this. Thanks to Wikipedia, of course, for this as well. Played each other 156 times across a variety of competitions, 53 wins each. So this is the pivotal derby. This is literally. Oh, yeah. They say some derbies are important. This will actually tell us, who actually, has the bragging rights in this particular derby. I have no idea what the Texaco Cup or the Anglo-Scottish Cup, I don't know what even year they were around, but Newcastle never won that either.
Shock.
But yeah, okay. Do you remember the last time? Either remember the last time you played each other and what the result was? Bit of a trivia one.
Yeah, it was at St James's one. It was one each. That was to end the 6 in a row. I remember. That's
right. Here's the squads on that day. I think this was Benitez's his first home game. I think. Remember, I'd be interested to compare and contrast 7 years ago to the squad you've got now. How would that Newcastle side get on against the current one, Jay?
I mean, I think there's probably only a couple of players out of that team that would probably get into or being around the team now. So I think they would actually, I think they'd struggle. But the one thing I will say is Rafa was very, very hard to we were very hard to beat at times, and he was very compact. So I don't think it would be a massively high scoring game, but I think the intensity and the levels of the players that we've got now, I think ultimately would come on top against that team.
And then, of course, Jack, this was a Premier League Sunderland side. Fond memories of some of these players?
I mean, yeah, but some of them. I mean, others not so much. The likes of Jack Colback and whatnot. Jack Rodwell, sorry, and Jack Colback for the Mags as well. But I enjoyed that season. That was a big Sam Allardyce season. Obviously, helped with the fact we did send Newcastle down a couple of months later. It was a decent day. I enjoyed it. I mean, Kakoff and Villa, Defoe, of course, Barini. I love that team, and I think it quite comfortably beat the one we've got now, to be honest with
you. All right, cool. Any young starlets, Jake, that we might see that you might be keeping coming in from the under-18s, under-21s? Usually, FA Cup is used to highlight some players that are on the fringes.
I don't know. I think with how important the game is, I honestly, I mean, you've got Alex Murphy, who's a young centre back, who has had a couple of minutes in some of the Carabao Cup games, but I don't see him rotating enough for that to happen. To be honest with you, they may be on the bench, and if we are in a very comfortable position, come later on in the game, you might see him put on Alex Murphy. There's a guy called Diallo as well who has had a little bit, but to be honest, Lewis Miley is obviously the real one who at the minute is sort of really like the shining star out of the academy. So I think if we did get the game time, it would probably be as a like Cal doing a good thing and giving them like sort of minutes just to kind of so they can experience a derby. But I think you'll go pretty strong. So I don't know if we'll have many on the bench, to be fair.
Okay.
I wish we could see a Diallo playing for us. Like, I'm mad.
He was class, to be fair. So I'm glad he's not with you at the minute.
I know.
And Jacob, if I could offer you a Europa place for certain, finish 6th this year, but you have to lose 6-0 to Sunderland, would you take it?
No. Honestly, like, this isn't even in any way like snobbery or anything. Like, obviously, we've been in the Champions League. Ultimately, I think it was too soon for us when it was because we didn't get through. So obviously, I'd like European football this season, but no, I couldn't stomach at this with where we are right now and where Sunderland are. Losing 6-0 would be so embarrassing, and I just want the ground to swallow me up. So no, I couldn't accept that.
All right, Jack, and if I can offer you the playoff final, guaranteed, but you have to lose 6-0 to Newcastle, would you take it?
No, absolutely no way. I've had this discussion with my mates at uni. Like, there's a lot of mags there, and like they said the same, like them to win the Carabao Cup while getting to Europe. But there's too much on us. There's way too much on us that you can't afford to lose this. No chance.
Okay. All right, let's get some score predictions for you. Any new songs, by the way? You haven't sung. There must be some new oil songs Sunderland have for Newcastle. Not that you can probably mention too many on here.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll probably come up with a few like that. We're meant to have a banner, but it's not being passed. But
right, are you allowed to say on this channel what it says? Or?
There's a banner. It was meant to say "No blood on our hands." With obviously the whole Saudi thing, but yeah, we weren't allowed it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, and you got 6,000 Magpies taking over, I believe. Yeah, and it's and it's only a bus in, bus out route, isn't it, for your safety and.
Yeah, it is. I'm to be honest with you, I'm surprised with the allocation. I mean, obviously Jack said it. It will be hostile. There's obviously no doubt about it. And 6,000. I know obviously they've had to move some Sunderland fans as well to accommodate us, which obviously hasn't gone down well with some of the Sunderland fans by the sound of it. So I think there's going to be that as well on top of it. You know, the fact that that we've taken essentially some of the season ticket holders' seats. So yeah, it's 6,000. It's going to be. I mean, obviously the result will be a massive part of that. If we lose, I think there'll be a few unhappy Magpies. Well, a lot of 6,000 unhappy Magpies. Or choice, whatever you want to say. So 6,000 is going to be a hell of an atmosphere, though. Obviously, to sell out. It's the biggest game out there right now for us. So it's going to be a huge atmosphere. There's going to be obviously a lot of singing, a lot of supporting the teams, and it should be really good. Looking forward to it, to be fair.
Okay. Let's get some predictions then. Let's go with head and heart predictions. Jack, you can go first because you're at home. Your heart says, and your head says.
Even it's probably my head and my heart are confused because they're playing rubbish. But oh god, my heart says we'll nick it 2-1 or something like that, and we'll just come out and absolutely blow them away. But I'll be totally honest, I can't say. I think the most we get logically is a draw, and I'd rather not, to be honest. That means we have to go to St James, and that's just a nightmare waiting to happen. I'm gonna at my head. I think we'll get beat 1 or 2-0, but my heart, I'm going to go 2-1 Sunderland.
Just see a striker scoring for once.
Oh, that would be
90th minute. All right, Jacob, same to you. What's your heart saying? What's your head saying?
My heart is saying, I'd look like 4-1. Love it like obviously that would be fantastic. My head, I think it's going to be tighter than that. I think it will probably be a 2-1 win for us. And I think they'll make. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a white. I don't think it's going to be like an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. Ultimately, the pressure is all on us. We're a Premier League team. We really should be winning. So I think it's going to finish 2-1 to us. Is probably what I'd say.
All right. Well, you two behave yourselves. Won't you? You on the coaches, Jake, and where are you, Jack? Are you in the stands? Right. Are you pitch side for this one?
No, I'm back in the stands for this one,
Okay.
thankfully.
Okay, right. Maybe so. Right, I'll let you two have any last words of good luck to each other then, and then we shall let you leave.
I hope we smashes.
Yeah, no, me too. Feelings mutual. I don't wish you any luck at all.
No, completely understandable.
Good, that's what we like. Right, and if you are a Sunderland fan or Newcastle fan, drop comments below about what you think the score is going to be this weekend. For the neutrals, we love this. I love this derby. It's I think you're right. It is up there, isn't it? With some of the best derbies in the country. This one. I mean, Everton Liverpool's happens a lot, and like you said earlier, Jack, it's because you don't kind of live together, work together as much. It does have that kind of nasty vibe. We actually genuinely don't like each other. Whereas, Liverpool fans dislike each other, but there's not hatred there. But this like Ipswich Norwich, there's a lot of there's a lot of hatred between the two of you.
Definitely.
All right. Okay. Enjoy it both. Thanks so much for coming on. And yeah, may the best team win.
Brilliant.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me on.
Nice one. Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you. Bye-bye.